Okay, I'm going to show you how to print this staff list for events. So what we're going to do is go to our events folder 2015, and we're just going to pick an event. So here's 728 Burberry, and we're going to open the staff list. So as you've seen in some of the other videos, we have a couple different worksheets, they call them, within each spreadsheet. We have the staff list, the sign-out sheet, not available sheet, which is not really used much. I'll go over that in detail in another video. So the staff list is where we put all of the staff as we're booking them, again, which is explained in another video. So this specific staff list sheet we use to move all the staff around, to have their emails, so when we email them, we can just copy it and drop it into an email. But this we don't want to print and bring to events because it's not set up to print. It's information that we don't need to sign staff in and out of events, but it's information we need when we're booking staff, seeing who's available, who's not available. Again, all that info is in some of the earlier videos in the staffing series. So when we're ready to print for an event, I've created the sign-out sheet workbook, which is this one. And this would apply to any manager that needs to print this for the event. And this is where a lot of people have questions. How do you get the info to show up right? So basically, Excel has a lot of features that allows you to take shortcuts. So instead of having to copy and then paste stuff, all the names in here, I've set it up so if we paste and then the formatting is off, we can kind of do the match destination formatting, but still you'll see the names aren't lined up correctly. It's just not the easiest way to do it. So what we do here is we have the sign out sheet, and Excel has formulas that allow you to make a cell equal the value of another cell. For example, let's say I want this cell here just to display whatever another cell displays. So I can do equals. I'll go to staff list and I'll just click on this call time. So now this cell is always going to equal whatever is in staff list cell H4 or this call time. So for example, the text is the same, and I can format it differently. I can change the color of the text, etc. And then anytime I make a change here, just say like type letter T, that now shows up there, and I don't have to copy and paste back and forth. So where that's beneficial is, as you can see with the staff list, we're constantly moving staff around. If they're not available, we drop them down here. So it just makes it very difficult to constantly go back and forth. So I'm just clear this out and get rid of that value. I just hit the backspace button to do that. So how I've done it is I've created a couple different formulas here that say, so for example, this cell is going to equal staff list D6 plus E6, which is D6 plus E6. E6 is blank. But what happens is if we drag it down, and by dragging it down, we just show you this kind of white cross. Once we hover the mouse over this tiny little black square in the bottom right corner, it turns to a black cross. What I'm going to do is just left click. I'm going to drag. Okay, and then when I reach here, I will unclick. Okay, and what it's now done, it is copied this formula here down to each of these cells. Except Excel makes formula adjustments. It uses some sort of the thought process when they develop Excel is, as you drag this down, we're going to increase these cell numbers as you go. So it goes from D6 to E6, D7, D8, etc., etc. So it will then equal everything we see there: D7, D8, D9, D10, D11. Okay. We'll just undo that. We'll go back. So I've also made it, if you notice, in this D and E are two different cells. And the reason why first name and last name are two different cells is we need it for alphabetizing names, and also for payroll purposes. I've made this so I can copy and paste this directly into the payroll form. So what we're going to do is the cell value I've created is it equals staff list D6 plus quotation marks space quotation marks plus E6. This is more complicated Excel formulas, but basically I've just told Excel I want you to put inside this box right here D6 with a space plus E6. And if I drag it down, you'll see it does the names. Okay. Going over to the next cell, phone. This one's more simple because we're not combining cells, two cells on one page into one cell. So staff list G6 would equal staff list G6. And the reason why I've only filled out this top row is once you get your staff list full, you want to then drag down. Because what happens is if I had these values already pre-populated, okay, like so. Oops. If I had these pre-populated like so, there can be some formatting errors, which you guys have all seen, called the ref, #ref, or bad reference. Essentially what happens is this. Let's say, for whatever reason, I decide to delete this row, okay? So if you see here, this is saying staff list D11 plus staff list E11, which is D11 Sean Westlake plus D11 Sean plus E11 Westlake. Combines those two into this formula and then carry it over for the phone number and the start time. So what happens is if I delete this here, you're going to see the bad reference. And basically what happens is Excel says, well, you told it to equal those cells, and then those cells get deleted. We don't know where they are, and we get a bad reference. An easy way to fix that is just highlight these cells, and by highlighting them, I left click on one cell and drag over, unclick. That's how you highlight groups of cells. And I'm going to right click, drag down, okay, and now it's replaced that D11, E11. That's just how Excel works. It's one of the trade-offs. But the overall benefit is very good because I can make changes. Let's say I change everyone's staff time to 5 p.m. Okay, and then if I go to the sign-out sheet, it's already changed. So that's just kind of like the theory behind why I've done this. But all you guys need to know is this: when the staff list is totally finished, all you're going to do the night before, unless it's already been done by myself or Arthur, which all of you try to do, I'm just going to come in, highlight these cells, drag them down, and it will populate all the values. And however, it does keep the formatting, so this cell here is bold and underlined. We don't necessarily want that for all these staff, so I'm just going to highlight all these cells and just get rid of that. Same thing for the bartender, or not the bartender, but the bartenders and everyone in these columns here. Same formulas apply. I've pre-populated the bartender, but nothing else below that because, again, if I start deleting cells, moving things around, you get all those reference values. I'll give you an example. Let's say I took Ozzy said I'm not available, okay? If I drag Ozzy down here, put him in not available. I'm sorry, let me go back that up 1 second. Yeah. Okay, so let's say I take Ozzy, moved him down to not available, put him in red, and I replace him, well, I'll just type in a name, let's just say Todd Gilliam. So what's going to happen is I go back to the sign-up sheet. Well, Todd Gilliam's name isn't there because the logic of Excel is it follows Ozzy wherever you move him on the other sheets. So when I dragged Ozzy down from here to here, the formula in Excel says, well, I need to follow him because you meant for me to follow him, not for me to always equal what was in that cell. So we can fix that just by highlighting this and dragging the formula down. But that's a little more complicated, so I think the easiest way to do this is to keep these cells all blank and then drag down when we're ready to print. Alright. Same thing with the, I'll just put Aussie back because obviously he didn't say he's not available. Okay. Place the value of the cells, put him back to green. Again, there's that reference value because a second ago this was saying that should equal this cell, which is Todd-Gilliam, and then I replaced it with something else. So as you can see, just moving things back and forth can create a lot of these errors. So we wait to do the sign out sheet until we're totally done. When we're ready, we left click, highlight the cells, unclick, and then move our little cursor here, click, drag down. Okay, get rid of the formatting. I've set bartenders to be the top value of this row here. So all I'm going to do is you can see the formulas are already in these cells. So we're just going to highlight, we're going to drag down, and boom, it pre-populates. And if we had cooks here, if we had chefs, it would populate all those as well. Again, with the formatting, what I do is I just highlight everything, click bold, and get rid of the bold and underline, and then I just re-highlight those cells. And that's pretty much it. Everything should be ready to print within the margins, just to show you the print preview. There it is. Alright, and we just print it, take it to the events, do our signouts. That's pretty much it. One thing to keep in mind is, let's say the event has a lot of staff. Okay, so we're going to insert and just say, for example, let's say, I'm not going to type in all the staff, but we'll just duplicate these names. Okay, we have all these staff on the event. Well, we only have 10 rows here. How do we put more? Well, we just left click, drag down. I'll just guesstimate here, 17 rows. I'm going to right click, insert, and now look at all that space. So all we got to do now is we can just come to Eric Carpenter. So Eric Carpenter, we'll drag down, and look, it just filled in all of those new values. Obviously, we would put in not the same staff, but new staff as we add them. The same thing applies down here. If there's one more bartender, I'm just going to, again, how I do this is I hover the mouse over here. I'm going to left click. I'm going to drag down. So you can see this little 9 here right below the 38. That means 9 rows are going to be inserted. Unclick, and I'm going to left click, insert all those bartenders. So if I add it again, let's just insert, shift those down. If I added a bunch of bartenders here, again, I'm just going to use drag mat down to keep it simple. Alright, now I drag this down, boom, there they all there. Alright, if I do too many, such as up here, too many rows, I'm just going to delete this back. So we go to our print preview, and there's all our names. Two-sided now, obviously, as we keep going down. Another thing that you don't have to worry about is conditional formatting. The way I've set up the Excel spreadsheet is every time you insert rows, it keeps this alternating white, gray, white, gray. It just makes it a lot easier than to have to do it manually. Same thing when I delete. Okay, it will keep that that value. And not that you need to know how to do this, but this is in conditional formatting, manage rules. Basically, I've just told Excel, again, a little more advanced, but I've told Excel I need you to modify every other row and make that row, every other row, have this gray fill here. That's pretty much it. But again, you don't have to concern yourself with that. I'll make sure the formatting is always correct. So that's it for how to print.